Most advanced warning systems are here. They gave residents precious moments to prepare for the most powerful earthquake and the tsunami that followed. Warnings that for some were automatically sent straight to their mobile phones. But no technology could prevent the destruction that followed. More than a week on and thousands of people are still missing, while hundreds of thousands have had their homes destroyed. In a land in love with technology, it has unsurprisingly played a big part in what's happened since. On a basic level, for those who simply had access to a phone, Japanese operator NTT Docomo's emergency message board let survivors leave voice messages which could then be accessed by anyone searching their phone number. While large areas of Japan were completely obliterated, in many places where phone signals failed, access to the net was still possible, mainly through landlines. This graph shows the level of traffic through Google's search engine. Despite the tsunami, fires and power cuts, March the 11th, in the middle, looks like almost any other day. 2 days later, and data flows shown here in green are just a fraction down on the 2 weeks previous. The resilience of the network and most undersea cables to Japan helped to keep data moving. That connectivity allowed Skype to offer free calls to telephones and free Wi-Fi at its 5,000 hotspots. But it wasn't just one-to-one communication making a difference. The growing popularity of social networks has today given sites like Facebook and Twitter a central role in desperate times. For the first time, Facebook plotted the rapid spread of the news across the world in the 2 hours after the quake. But just as the Japanese have their own unique culture and language, so they prefer their own style of social networks. Mixi is the most popular, with more than 20 million active users.
Mixi is very important for us because the difference between Facebook and Mixi is we don't use it to communicate with friends, posting pictures and updating information, but we use it to communicate with people who we don't know, creating the group which is called community. In a group, we can have the topic. So if we type the topic, we can go to the specific topic, for example, supply or water or food. This man has a restaurant in an area which is hit by earthquake, but he still has the food and water, and he can cook at his restaurant. So he would like to serve the free food for the people who has escaped and who has no place to go.
What's your personal feeling about what you see?
I felt maybe we had a big earthquake in 1995 in the west part of Japan, and we didn't have Mixi. So the only thing we could help each other was to donate. But now we can find any information through the Mixi, and we can send to the person who we see on Mixi instead of who we don't see who they are on TV.
And social networks now offer much more than simply a way to stay in touch. Information can be scraped off these sites and mapped in real time, largely thanks to a movement with its roots in Africa. The Kenyan riots of 2007. 120 people died in the violence following the presidential elections. Life on Kenyan streets has of course returned to normal now, but there's one lasting legacy from those violent days. Ushahidi was born, but it was created for very different reasons than the life-saving operations it's become famous for today.
It was a way to gather information and say, this is happening. Because the media is not reporting it, we'll gather it anyway. That was the big driver for it. And always from the very beginning was the idea that ordinary people knew more of what was going on the ground than either the government or big media was saying. And what it does is it's a very simple way for anybody anywhere in the world to aggregate information via SMS, email, the internet itself, or Twitter or Facebook, whatever you want. Aggregate that information, visualize it, and understand what's happening around you.
Since 2008, Ushahidi has been used to map the earthquake in Haiti and follow the forest fires in Russia. Within 2 hours of the Japanese quake, a group of volunteers there had used it to map real-time information. Another site, Esri.com, is also mapping social network feeds. Ushahidi posts are combined with YouTube videos, Facebook and Twitter feeds, and official records of all the aftershocks too. With posts being automatically tagged with geolocation data, some of this information can be assimilated to the map automatically. Outside of Japan, volunteer groups are helping as well, collating other databases which could prove useful to mappers. Crisis Commons advises the UN on how it can best respond to disasters.
You would want to find, how can I charge my cell phone? What banks are open? What grocery stores are open? And these are all pieces of new information that happens after a disaster. And I really think that's where volunteer technology communities like Crisis Commons can really help, and to be able to put it out in the public in a way that is mobile. And so I think that that's something that we'll definitely see more in the future.
What you put on your map is up to you. Honda has fitted its cars with GPS sat-navs. After the quake, it opened up that database to show real-time car movements, helping anyone with an internet connection to see which roads are still open and how fast traffic is moving. And then, in all the chaos, there's perhaps the biggest need of all. People are desperate to find each other. In the aftermath of 9/11 in 2001, families scanned huge walls of missing persons posters. Now, for those without an internet connection on the ground, including thousands in temporary shelters, pictures of similar messages are being taken and then posted online. Volunteers add the information to Google's recently launched Person Finder. The text box can be placed or embedded on a website, allowing easy access to a single database where many hope to find those they've lost. More than 160,000 records are here. To avoid spam and help verify posts, anyone with information is asked to leave their email and phone number. Help has come from other quarters too. Social online gaming has boomed in recent years. Makers of one of the most popular games, Farmville, took just 12 hours to introduce an in-game donation system. With over 80 million users, it could make a real difference. Sadly, Japan now faces another danger from its nuclear power stations. Robots are being deployed into areas too dangerous for people to go, sending back images by burrowing or riding over the rubble. It's easy to see how shared online maps, updated with real-time information, could help here too, guiding people away from danger. Many are worried, scared for the future, and many more want to help them. But while the success of using social media to bring people together ultimately relies on the quality of information, at its best it offers a precious resource which will help save lives.